Hey, what's going on, everybody? I wanted to do a video, hopefully first of many. I wanted to introduce and talk about GS Partners today. It is a investment opportunity that I found through some of my cryptocurrency investments. Probably this time last year, there was a really big push. A lot of protocols and different companies were starting to create cryptocurrency coins and different projects and different things like that. And obviously, most of you are probably aware there was a mid-level crash last year with cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin started hitting all-time lows. And as a result of that, all the subcoins took a big impact. And so there were a lot of projects that were working. And then obviously, whenever you take a hit on your treasury and your capital, payouts are paused and all those sorts of things. What we found is that a majority of those projects were based off of Ponzi-nomics and Ponzi schemes. Maybe not intentionally, but a lot of it was, if you're getting a return on your investment and there's no profits or revenue coming into the protocol or the business, you have to bring on people, more people putting in money than there is going out. And so a lot of it didn't work. It was a great time for experience, I think. I did lose some money in some projects and then made some money in other projects. So it was really just if you got in early, you made profits. If you got in late, you lost. So I probably, only net about 18% of what I originally put in. But I wanted to talk about GS Partners because it was one of the projects that was kind of introduced through cryptocurrency, but it didn't rely on the cryptocurrency aspects and the coins and things like that. And kind of flew under my radar for a little bit, but actually ended up, seems like, being probably one of the better decisions that I invested in. So if we go to the back office, which is where all of the fun happens, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but basically what they're doing, GS Partners is a large company. They operate a lot like a multi-level marketing to where you can recruit people and all those sorts of things, but they actually generate profits and revenue through trading. So a couple different ways that they do that. There's foreign exchange or Forex, and then there's also investment opportunities within coins, arbitrage where they buy low, sell high, hold, those sorts of things. But one of their partnerships is with a company called BDSwiss. I would go and look it up and do your research. BDSwiss is a foreign exchange company. They do a lot of foreign exchange, but they take on high-level clients. So meaning your minimum investment to get in is usually in the hundreds of thousands. And so what they wanted to do is kind of open up their options to people, but they didn't obviously want to lower their minimum thresholds because they are very successful. They do have high profit transactions, but they're dealing with, again, people with a lot of investments. So where GS Partners comes in is they came in and said, well, we can gather a lot of smaller investment people that want to put some money in whole, we'll have as much as some of those larger investors, and then you can utilize that to trade and get profits, and then we will trickle those profits down to the investors. So GS Partners more so the marketing and the group organization where they do and manage, probably higher volume but lower investment amounts. But they structure it and they have a system that pays out. And so the profits that come from the overall account trickle down to the end user like myself and like you. So with this, it was probably October of last year. The way that they work, I'll try to explain very quickly. They have contracts, right? So you buy into a contract, and then you can actually load those contracts up to a certain dollar amount, and the amount that you load is actually what is traded in exchange, right? So you can earn profits based off of buying and selling of what your load or investment amount is, but you have to buy access to those certificates. So every quarter or so they come out with a new theme, or maybe it's a new year. I got back whenever it was an Olympus theme, and so some of the contracts were based off, there were different ones. There was Hermes, there was Artemis, there was a couple different ones, and basically each of those contracts was for the dollar amount that you wanted to buy. So I think the lowest was like 250, then there was a 500, then there was 1,000, then there was a 5,000, so forth. Obviously, a lot of the bonuses and incentives were catered towards the higher dollar amount, but I went in kind of a mid-level, and so my initial the ability to purchase the contract was $1,000, and then you can load it up to that same $1,000. Now they operate independently. The $1,000 is basically buying the contract. The contracts last for 24 months, and then that money plus your profits are then returned back to you. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But the way that it worked is, let me pull up a spreadsheet real quick and see if I can share that. Let me just do, okay. So, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Edit. No. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. I'm just going to have to go back. So, anyways, I'll just have to explain it through the actual website. So, the way that it works is you get the initial contract, so $1,000, and then you get paid 4.15% on that $1,000 for purchasing the certificate. So this is paid out weekly. It accrues daily, but you're only able to compound or withdraw it once it hits the weekly mark. So, and it's based off of your week. So if you cash out on a Friday, every Friday you can make the decision to compound or withdraw. So if we go into that, I'll show you what that looks like. Right now, I actually have ready for reward $47. And so obviously 4.15% of 1,000 is $41.50. And so you can see my history and transaction of, there's times that I've compounded and withdrew, compound, withdrew, so forth. And so I'm going to go ahead and compound, show you what that looks like. I'm basically saying I want to compound this $47. Before I do that, let me show you. So the other aspect of it, the load amount, is you buy the contract for $1,000. You get paid 4.15% of that weekly, and you can withdraw that or you can compound it. If you compound it, then it goes into the other part. So remember I said you buy the contract for $1,000 and you have an opportunity to load it for another $1,000. So you load the contract for $1,000 maximum, but when you compound the 4.15% that you get on the initial contract, it actually goes into your load amount. And so you can see here the initial $1,000, and then I've compounded another $492 into this. So my load amount is up to $1,492, which I wouldn't have been able to buy into that amount. Again, the maximum was $1,000, and then you have an opportunity to compound into that. So if we go ahead and hit compound, you'll see that it goes ahead and compounds it into my load balance. Why is that important? So the load balance, you actually get paid out on quarterly. And if you look down here, I actually just did one. So GEUR is about $1.30 per, this is their native coin, the coin that they've created. And so it's about $280 that I got. This pays out quarterly, and it's based off of what your load balance is. So if you compound your contract rewards into this, then obviously every quarter your rewards are increased. You can see the last one that I did was about $130 back in March. That was a 4%. It's basically an average of what they've traded. So BDSwiss is actually trading that load amount. That's what they're using to trade, make their trades, their buys and sells for profits and all those sorts of things. And then that's what actually trickles back down to the investors ourselves. So I think there was it was last year around February, March is whenever the crypto market was really starting to just take a hard hit. And so even whenever a lot of things were taking losses, this still yielded about a 4.5% return to me. Now that things are stabilizing, this quarter I actually got about 10% return on that $1,482 that they've been trading. And so I did cash this out. What I'm going to do with that is actually buy another certificate in a new contract that we'll talk about. But I just wanted to kind of show you a history of, that the rewards do pay out. Whenever I withdraw it, I send it to my KuCoin wallet, which is kind of where I house all of my cryptocurrency. And then from there, I could actually cash it out to my personal bank, or you can put it into another project or another coin or another investment. So I try to diversify it. I don't want all my eggs in one basket. And so what I'll usually do is I'll compound for a little bit, withdraw for a little bit, and then I'll take the withdrawals and put those into other projects, other investments, and things like that. Since this has kind of proven itself, what I'm going to start doing is just reinvest it back into GS partners in another protocol. So we compound. If I refresh here, you'll see now we're at 153% load, so we're 153% of what we were allowed. Now my balance is $1,539, and so that's what they're going to be trading over this next quarter to pay out. Speaking of that, I want to give you kind of a visual of what I'm talking about. So this is not Lydian, or yeah. So you can see this is the new planet, or this is the old planet series. I'm not sure what this one is. This is probably when they first started. This is the overall contract that I purchased. So one of the incentives was they would actually match $1,125 on $1,000 if you loaded the contract immediately, which is what I did. So they're actually trading $2,417, and I'm getting the profits on those. Obviously, I won't get the bonus capital, but the way that this works is at the end of the 24-month contract, you get everything that's in the load, everything that's in the contract, everything that you've compounded. You get all that back as a release payout, and then you can obviously enter into another contract if you want at that time. But I want to show you. So I have selected a high risk performance dynamics, because more risk, more reward. If we scroll down here, I'll show you the actual certificate. So you can see right here, this is what paid out in March. It was a 10.4% return on the investment. My next reward date is November 1st. And then it will be obviously based off of the amount that they trade. So I'm going to do kind of a weekly update on this. I'm going to compound from here on out. And that way I can build up my meta portfolio loaded balance, which is what they're trading with. And then November 1st, we'll see what it yields and just kind of go from there. But this is obviously the other aspect. So this is the part of the contract that pays out quarterly. And again, the initial 1,000 is what you get the 4.15% on. Now that I've gone through all of that, there's more that we can dive into later. There's a whole nother aspect. GS Partners has probably 6 or 7 different ways to make money. But I want to talk about these new contracts, which are the Element contracts. And they're a little bit different than the Olympus ones. I think my next video, I will record me actually investing and purchasing this initial one. But the way that it works is you still buy the contract, so you can actually purchase it with any of these. And I'll show you how to load and all that good stuff. But then once you buy the contract gives you access to actually 6 different ways to invest. And these are the loads. They're just broken out into 6 different ways. So you can invest another $250 and load this fintech option. And so what it's going to do is it's going to pay you 5% for 52 weeks on that load amount. And then you get 1.5% monthly for 24 months. And then obviously as the contract closes, this is a 24-month contract, and those funds would be released to you. But you also have opportunity to do renewables, real estate portfolio, more crypto-based portfolio, supplements. I'm not real familiar with what that is. Probably dietary, nutrition, all those sorts of things. And then gaming, which is primarily esports and e-gaming. And so what you can do is you can actually buy the contract for $250, and rather than only being able to load $250 once, like the Olympus contracts allowed, you can load $250, $250, $250, $250, $250, and then let each of those compound and work as they do the way that they do. So when you see this maximum potential payout, what it's basically calculating is if you have the initial 250. You load 250 into each of these, and you compound every single week. At the end of the contract, if it performs off of how it's projected, that's the kind of return that you would see on $250. If you take a zero off, I'm happy with that on the investment. But again, the only thing that really changes is the amount that you have to initially purchase the contract for and the amount that you load. So you can see some of these people are doing $10,000, $25,000 in these contracts. The way that it scales is just insane. So that's a lot of information. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me. What I'm going to do is actually activate my membership with them as well. And this is where the multi-level marketing kind of comes into play. So I will get a link that I can then share with you guys. And obviously the goal is to educate you, help you with the investment, help you compound, withdraw, and then share that information with anybody else that you know is in investing and building wealth as well. So I appreciate you watching and stopping in. Again, my next video, I'll dive into a little bit more about how to load your wallet, how to make your first initial investment, your first initial purchase. I'll go through the whole process, and we'll go ahead and buy an element certificate or two. And then we'll just keep an eye on it and see how it performs. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.